Welcome, it's Jeremy Allen Gould. I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that in fact, the rumors that you have all heard are true. I started this podcast because I freaking love music. I was privileged enough to book amazing artists and bands in the past, and I was lucky enough to stay in touch with many of them to this day. This is a place to hear their stories. Thank you so much for riding along on this journey, and I hope you enjoy what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true. Welcome back to this latest episode. My name is Jeremy, and this is the Rumors Are True podcast. Today, I welcome Jonah Weingarten from the band Pyramaze. Pyramaze is an incredible progressive metal band that I discovered a couple years ago, actually during COVID, because I was bored. And I've been obsessed with them ever since. Incredible songwriting, incredible production, incredible artwork, all the whole shebang. It's so good. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode. We talk about the records Epitaph, Contingent, Disciples of the Sun, and the new record they have coming out, Bloodlines, here in June. So what an awesome conversation with Jonah. Really cool to kind of know his thoughts and perspective on the band in general. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy this latest episode with Jonah Weingarten from Pyramaze. Hey, Jonah, thanks so much for coming on my podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bud.
Absolutely. What are you up to now? What's going on in your life currently?
Well, at the moment, I am preparing to head over to Europe because Pyramaze, we're playing our first show in 3.5 years.
Wow.
We're playing the Nordic Noise Festival in Copenhagen on the 12th. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's exciting. You got, I was going to ask you later on, but any tour plans other than that, or it's just one-off?
Yeah, that's the only thing on the books right now. And Bruce approves. And yeah, so we're headlining this festival with Tigers of Pantang, Evergrey, and Eclipse.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet, man. Well, I wanted to ask you, kind of growing up for you, what was what was it like? What kind of music influences bands kind of was in your circulation when you were growing up? Kind of maybe bring me back to growing up for you.
Well, I didn't get into metal until later in high school, really. I had all my like gateway bands like Metallica and Megadeth and Limp Bizkit and Korn and stuff like that, and Rammstein. Typical millennial, like
Metal.
in high school, late 90s. Yeah. But I've always loved film score music,
Yeah,
and film score music has had the biggest influence on me of anything.
that's so cool.
And you can hear it a lot in what I do, like Hans Zimmer, John Williams, Thomas Newman, Alan Silvestri, Danny Elfman, all the
Amazing.
greats. Yeah,
That's so cool.
those guys are my jam.
That's awesome, man. Have you heard of a band called Hammock?
No.
Okay, you should check them out. They're kind of that vibe. It's just they're like Sigaros, I guess, if you will. Just very atmospheric, I guess, and they have do stuff for TV and film as well. But anyway, yeah. So let's talk about how Pyramaze kind of how you started Pyramaze. Kind of maybe take me back to kind of how that began. Obviously you're listening to these influences, and that kind of translated into the music. So how did Pyramaze kind of come to?
So Pyramaze was founded in 2002 by a fellow named Michael Kammer in Denmark. And his plan was to put together a full album and get the best musicians he could to play on it. But he couldn't find a keyboard player that was up to the level that he wanted in all of Denmark. And it just so happened that I had posted a message on the Wacken Open Air Festival guest book saying like, oh, hey, I'm a keyboardist from the US looking to join a band in Europe. And he happened to see that. And so he wrote me an email. I was 19 years old. Yeah. And so he wrote me an email and then asked me to audition. And I sent over a VHS tape back in April of 2002 of me playing. And so he flew me to Denmark in January of 2003. And we recorded our first album, which was Melancholy Beast. And that obviously made a splash. And yeah, we got signed to like EMI Japan. And
so nuts. That's cool. That's so random. That's an awesome story. I mean, like the fact that it's just kind of happenstance that, but now you're on a journey of, an amazing band. It's funny because I was telling you earlier, I actually discovered you guys randomly. I was listening to something. I don't even remember what I was listening to. And it was like a Spotify playlist, and you guys came on, and it was one of your songs from Epitaph, and I was just floored. I was like, what is this? It's so
nice.
The production, the artwork, everything about it was just like incredible. And I went on a deep dive, like, and started to like get back into the older records as well. And so that's kind of why I reached out to you, because I was like, man, this band needs to be heard. Not that you're not, but to me, I'm like, you guys are so phenomenal. So, so let's talk briefly kind of about maybe the Disciples of the Sun record. I know you've got an extensive catalog. I just kind of wanted to touch on the newer records, because I know that's kind of when your newer singer came in, I guess, into the fold.
Yeah.
Not that the other ones weren't good. I just, kind of wanted to pinpoint on those. So let's talk about the Disciples of the Sun record kind of briefly, maybe some memories or thoughts from that time.
Yeah. Well, so the Disciples of the Sun record, that was like our rebirth, basically. That was our first album that we did with Jacob Hansen as our guitarist and with Terja Haroy as our singer. So it was a very new lineup. We still had myself and Morten, the drummer, and then Toke, the guitarist, who played leads or whatever. But Jakob came in, and they call him Jakob in Denmark. So if I call him that, I'm talking about Jacob Hansen. Jakob came in and became one of the songwriters, one of the main songwriters also. So our sound sort of, naturally changed. We still had a lot of elements of what Pyramaze was, but it sort of became this newer, a little bit more modern sounding band that we are now. And like, we've continued to refine our sound through the albums. And the song Disciples of the Sun just became like our anthem. And it sort of was, this like big rebirth, and we had this big song, and we did this music video, and like we had like Rammstein's lighting guy for our music video. And it was just this big like production, and it was just so cool.
That's amazing.
And it was very much like, hey, we're back, after our hiatus, and we have some new members, and we're ready to rock again. So
did you see an increase in the fan base? How was the reception for that record?
It seemed like for the most part, people liked it. You have your like purists who are like, who only like our first two albums because Lance King sang on that, and it was more like power metal-ish and this and that and the other, and
Sure.
Whatever. I mean, there is kind of a division in our fan base from like our older fans and our newer fans, but our truest fans obviously follow us for all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think that we're always making good music, even if it is evolving and sounding different. And it's Pyramaze, so it's just kind of is what it is,
What were the influences for that record? I mean, that you can think of, like what were you guys collectively maybe listening to that maybe influenced the change in the sound?
Well, I mean, Jakob brought in, of course, all of his influences and his songwriting style. And, previously he's known for being in the band Invocator, for being the main man of Invocator. And that was more of like a thrash metal band kind of.
Yeah.
And then, Terrier's vocal style is a bit, I would say kind of bluesier. He's got a little bit of a Chris Cornell thing going on, sort of mixed with Dio and Jorn Landa. And so, I mean, we're all bringing in our respective influences. My influences, have grown and evolved over time too.
Sure.
The older I get, the less metal I listen to. Actually, the more
same here.
More film score and stuff like that I'm listening to. But
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I can totally. Since you mentioned the film score, with that record, Epitaph, and just specifically, I can totally see what you're saying. Like the grandioseness of it. I totally can see that. So. Let's maybe touch on the Contingent record, maybe some thoughts from that record. I know it's obviously in the next step in the progression of the new sound, I guess. Maybe talk about that record a little bit.
So Contingent seems like everybody's least favorite record.
Of the band or just in general?
Like the fans that sort of seems to be the consensus based on what I've been able to ascertain.
Yeah.
Is that like, it's not like people hated it, but they just felt like it wasn't as good as our other records. But Contingent was a bit more proggy and, like thematically was very like futuristic and post-apocalyptic. And so I think that our fan base was maybe just vibing on that a little bit less in general. So, I mean, there's some really great songs on that record.
Absolutely.
Like Starmen and A World Divided and Nemesis are some of the ones that are coming to my mind right now. But some of the deeper tracks on that album, I think, are really great. I just hope that people would give it another chance, now that some years have passed. Absolutely. Like as a keyboardist, I was experimenting with more sort of like industrial sounds and like these sort of cinematic sound designy type things here and there. I mean, it's still like symphonic and everything too,
Yeah. That's cool, man. I like the record as a whole. And like I said, I went on the deep dive, so I kind of went backwards, but I think it is phenomenal. I love it.
Well, thank you.
So I forgot to ask you, Disciples of the Sun and Contingent, what was the touring like for? Was there any tours, or was it just kind of spot dates? Is it just, I know you're kind of all over the place,
Yeah, we've never really toured. We've been more of a kind of one-off festival band. And it does just sort of fits in with our lifestyles.
No, makes sense. Totally.
Yeah, we're not like a hit the road for 4 weeks and grind type of band. We're just like, we're going to make the best music we can.
Play it here and there. Yeah.
When we can make it, do some festivals, have some fun, and have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. So is this kind of when you guys joined AFM Records? Was that right before Contingent or?
No. So Disciples of the Sun and Contingent were out. Interwound. Yeah.
Interwound. Okay.
Which is a Swedish label.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you get linked up with AFM after that?
I mean, through Jakob. He's with his producing and mixing and stuff like that, has done a lot of work for AFM. So he had a lot of contacts there. And I think, we had been on AFM's radar anyway. because I know that we had been talking to them here and there, but it just worked out that after Contingent that AFM wanted to sign us.
Very cool.
And we want to keep growing as best we can, even though we don't tour all the time.
Sure.
So AFM being a much bigger label, we felt like they could, they had a little bit more pull and a little bit more.
I love the label. I think it's fantastic. I mean, they have such a wide variety.
It's actually always been a dream of mine to be an AFM Records recording artist. And so
that's rad.
Yeah, level up, right?
Sweet. Well, let's talk about probably my favorite record, obviously until the new one, hopefully. Epitaph, phenomenal record. I really am like everything about it. I love artwork, production, songs. I think it's a perfect record, literally perfect. And I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I really think that it's so good. Let's talk about that record. I know it was, during 2020, which was, kind of odd year in general. So kind of maybe talk about the recording of that record, maybe the songs, and maybe just, tell me what you think about that record in general.
Yeah. I mean, so Epitaph, that was our pandemic record. So we've never played any of those songs live, actually. And we're going to be playing a handful of them live for the first time.
That's so cool.
At the Nordic Noise Festival. But yeah, I mean, that album, I feel like it's so diverse. It's got something for everyone on there. Every song is really different, but still sounds like Pyramaze. And then you have some really cool things like the Transcendent song featuring Britney Slays. The Time Traveler.
That's my jam. Like,
yeah,
phenomenal song. Like,
I'm so glad you like that. I kind of want to do I want to do something like that again.
Dude, it is legitimately like getting on a roller coaster. You know what I mean? And just going through, and the way it's written is so brilliant in my opinion. And I love every vocalist is so different. And I love how I don't know, man, it is an incredible song. Like,
I'm really glad you like it. Yeah. And the music video for it, we did like this animated comic book style music video. And it's just so cool. Like, and my idea for it was that it would be something that like dudes our age could get their kids into or something too.
Totally.
Because of all the animation and everything and this like really cool story and this and that. So
how did you guys write that song? I kind of read, I think it was a former member, maybe it was like his idea or something like that. It was maybe I read it wrong.
It was actually my idea to have a long epic song and to include like all of the Pyramaze singers playing different parts. So I wrote all the orchestration and everything like that for it first. And then they added the guitars and drums. And then we handed it to Michael Kammerer, who was our founding.
That's what I read. And
had him write the story and the lyrics.
Okay.
And then, and got Matt and Lance to sing on it and everything. And then from there, it was like, okay, handing it to this amazing artist named Nigel Lemon. He's a Canadian guy who's a huge Pyramaze fan. And of course, he wanted to do it and do it's all hand painted.
So cool.
Art for it and everything. And then a guy named Chance White in Atlanta, animated this stuff, like did all the post-production and editing and everything. And
video is amazing. Love it.
Thank you. Yeah, such a big project. I mean, that was a huge undertaking, just that one song. It felt like working on a whole album.
Wow. So when you guys were recording that, what was everyone like? Was everyone just ecstatic? Or like, I mean, you knew the vision of the song, but like when it came to fruition, how did that make you guys feel?
Like we had accomplished something really great that will stand the test of time. That's, I know that's a lot of people's favorite song from the Epitaph album. But also, I mean, it's really like the ultimate form of fan service. Cause we're like, okay, so we want to like create something that will unite our older fans and our newer.
You're honoring
fans.
The past.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I know like there's no way that fans from our first 3 albums wouldn't love it,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, and the whole record, it's weird because I think I don't want this to sound wrong. I think it could be like on the radio. Like there's certain songs I think could be like potentially a hit, in rock radio. Not saying that's what I want. I'm just saying it's so catchy. It's so incredibly well written. And I don't know. I know we were just talking about the Time Traveler. It's just cohesively, that record is just brilliant. And I'm glad I stumbled upon it because I got obsessed with it. So you probably made some pennies on Spotify from the
Spotify playlists are, a great thing, like to be able to
totally
to get a track on there. I think we had, definitely a few songs on that made it to a bunch of big playlists.
Yeah.
And that helped. Yeah. I mean, and these days, if we're not playing a lot of shows, like, you have to take advantage of stuff like that.
And I got a copy of the vinyl of Epitaph, which turned out beautiful. Yeah, can you talk about the? I know that's AFM, but was that you guys' idea to do the color that way, or
The artist, who's a fellow from Greece, he has a company called Remedy Art Design, and he did like the new Camelot album, and he's done a bunch of stuff for Evergrey. Super talented guy. Yeah, I think he came up with a color scheme and like those like purples and everything like that. It looks great. And so I don't know if you've seen our new album cover yet.
I did, and I saw the vinyl, the way it looks. It looks insane.
Same artist. Same artist, Epitaph. Love it. So I think we're really hitting our stride now with what we're doing, like sonically, visually, everything.
As a fan, I totally agree. I think it's like you guys have this clear vision, and it's you're firing on all cylinders, from what I see. So, let's talk about the new Bloodlines record, man. I'm really excited for it. I love the first two singles you guys have put out. Walk me through the new record, kind of your feelings and your thoughts on it, and what comes out in June, is that what you said?
Yeah, I think like June 23rd or something.
Okay, June 23rd. Okay, yeah, let's talk about Bloodlines and maybe how that kind of materialized.
Okay. So there's 10 tracks on the album, and it just worked out this way this time that I wrote 7 of the 10 and Jakob wrote 3. On Epitaph, I think Toke had written 2 or 3 songs, and he left the band last summer. So now, Jakob and I are the songwriters for the band. So, but I took advantage of a lot of downtime during the pandemic to write new material, and I was really inspired by the reception from Epitaph. So I had this whole library of songs, and we chose 7 of them, including some really cool instrumental stuff. And I mean, I feel like the Bloodlines album is sort of a continuation of what we were doing with Epitaph, where you have some songs that are a little bit on the proggier side, but we also have some really more like catchy stuff, and it's all very epic and powerful.
When you guys heard it finally finished, what were your thoughts? Are you just ecstatic?
Yeah. I mean, the songs on this album are so good, and they're all, once again, like very distinctive and unique, and they all sort of they all stand out on their own. That's great. That's a huge thing, for it to be cohesive, but stand out on their own. That's awesome.
Again, you said the same art guy, which is awesome. So the vision for what's the themes on the record, kind of maybe bring me through that.
Lyrically, kind of all over the place again. Every song is about something, but everything could be interpreted as something else than maybe what it is or what it was intended to be. And that's something I've always liked about our lyrics, where it's really up for interpretation from the listener. Like this one guy, I saw a comment from this one guy and was saying that one of our songs was about what are they called? Antifa or something. And I'm like, I commented and I'm like, dude, what, like, this is a Scandinavian band. What are you talking about? You know, like we had like some hidden Antifa messages in there or something like that. It's like, believe me, that's the last thing on our mind, you know. Whatever, bro. But it's like, if that's what you get out of it and you're still going to listen to it and appreciate it for what it is or whatever, or you're going to like be like mad about something because you think we're trying to like hint at something, like we're just a bunch of, you know, dads in Pyramid, just like who
just rip.
yeah. So
that's amazing. That's so cool. Man, I'm really excited for this record. I really am. I just, again, I saw the artwork and the vinyl color. It looks insane. When are those coming up for pre-orders? Are they up now or?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I didn't. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do that today, actually.
Order it from merchbooth.net because they have some killer pre-order packages with like t-shirts and stuff too.
Oh, right. Okay. Good to know. Yeah. Okay, so you described your show coming up in the Nordic area. I know you said there's not much more touring plans, but maybe like Prague Power USA in the future, maybe something in the US, anything like that possibly?
Yeah. Well, we'd love to come back and play Prague Power. We've already played that festival twice, and it's gone really well both times. I love the fans there and the community there.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I mean, we don't really have anything. We had this Norwegian tour booked, but then the pandemic happened and it got rescheduled 3 times. And so we would like to try to finally make that happen too, to have like 3 shows in Norway.
Yeah.
All in a row. So that would be our version of a tour, you know, for sure.
Sure. Well, I hope you guys get to make it over here because I would love to see you guys. I'm in Florida, so I definitely would go to Prague Power in Atlanta, which would be really cool. But man, I'm really excited to have met you and really stoked for this new record. And I really appreciate all the great music you guys have put out, and just want to thank you guys for being amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for being a fan. Thanks for finding us.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I tell everyone about you guys. I'm like, this band is insane. So awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, and I'll let you know when I post this. But I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bud.
All right, Jonah. Talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye. Hey, listener, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I really appreciate it. Thank you to Jonah Weingarten from the band Pyramaze. What an awesome conversation. I was really super stoked to talk to him. I love this band. I highly recommend them if you love anything melodic, progressive, metal, anything like that. Just an unbelievable band. If you'd like to add me on Instagram and Facebook at the Rumors Are True Cast, if you'd like to like and subscribe, feel free. I'm not going to ask for it, guys. Got some amazing artists on the horizon again. And I appreciate the support. And nostalgia, man, it's a hell of a drug.